Hello, and welcome to a very, very large Centipede press unboxing. He's crossed off the side because, it doesn't represent 10 copies of the Jack Dann Masters of Science Fiction, but contained in here is one copy of the Jack Dann Masters of Science Fiction. So, Jared at Centipede Press likes to reuse packing materials, which I am A-okay with. You'll see, we got something hidden under the cover. I don't know why I said cover, it's really a shipping label. But cue example number one of him reusing materials. The shipping label was printed on the back of something. We've got the safety of unknown cities, and I just slit right through that. Anyways, not sure what that was. Hopefully it wasn't a cool Centipede Press collectible, because it's in half now. Inside this massive box is lots of bubble wrap. Lots and lots of bubble wrap. And within that mass of bubble wrap is one little book. Well, it's not little. It's over 700 pages of short fiction from Jack Dann. And I had bought a signed copy, but I don't see a number on. Oh, there it is. There's a number. 409. Yeah, I had asked if he could match 68, but I don't have too many signed copies of the Masters of Science Fiction. Someone else had claimed a 68, but I will take 409. It's very cool. This is Masters of Science Fiction, the Jack Dann volume, edited by John Palin. Wow, okay. So, Palin actually passed away well over a year ago. May Palin rest in peace. And it has an introduction by George Zebrowski, whom Jack Dann is likened to. Now, I am not going to lie. I apologize, Jack Dann, if you happen to watch this. I have not read any of your material yet, but I do have 700 plus pages of material to dive into. I do own some of your material. I just haven't read it yet. They say book collecting and reading books are two entirely different hobbies, and I can attest to that. I do read my books, but I collect them at a far more swifter rate than I can read. Artwork by Jim and Ruth Keegan, who do the artwork on all of the Masters of Science Fiction. Masters of Science Fiction are great little compendiums, each focusing on a different author for a very cheap price. This was $60. They used to be like $40 in the past, but due to pandemic and costs going up, costs have risen. But even for $60, you're getting 700 pages. There is Jack Dann himself, American author, who has been living in Australia, so I guess he's more of an Australian author, for the past almost 30 years. Just an absolute ton of stories in here, ranging from upstate New York to Nazi Germany. He hasn't really gotten too much small press treatment. He has through PS Publishing. PS Publishing has published several stories of his collections. I have Concentration, which is a collection of Holocaust short stories, reaching in. Oh, there's my dog in the background, reaching into his Jewish heritage. Not the dog, Jack Dann. Poor sentence structure there. Whole bunch of different stories here, including 2 stories named Visitors. That is not a typo. He has 2 short stories named Visitors, and they are both featured in this volume. So signed copies are sold out, but unsigned copies are still available, and yeah, it's cheap, it's affordable. It's got a ribbon marker. Very nice. And in the back, we have our signatures. Jack Dann, his signature, I had not realized, looks very much like George R. R. Martin's signature, even though they have clearly very different names, but that's just the same scribble style. George Zebrowski, John Palin could not sign his copy as he had passed last year, and Jim and Ruth Keegan on the bottom. But it's very, very touching to very heartbreaking to see the signature space blank for John Palin, but very touching that his editing skills are still being used more than a year later. It also makes me wonder how many of these titles Palin had edited in his lifetime. They've done, Centipede Press and Jared have done a bunch of these Masters of Science Fiction, and that's not the only genre they've done. They've done the Masters of the Weird Tale, which are oversized, huge volumes featuring those in the weird fiction genre. He also does Library of Weird Fiction, which are much smaller editions, much smaller titles. Those are kind of cheaper, like these Masters of Science Fiction, although Masters of Science Fiction are signed by the editor when John Palin was alive, the author, like Jack Dann, who is still alive, and any introductory authors when available, and then Jim and Ruth Keegan, whereas a Library of Weird Fiction titles are not signed at all. But anyways, very much looking to dive into this. Copies of the unsigned books are still available at centipedepress.com. I don't know if they have too many previous Masters of Science Fictions available, but I love whenever they come out. And I just realized now that this spiraling serpent actually continues and carries over to the back, which is just really cool. Very cool artwork. Yeah, so I mentioned earlier, like 2 minutes ago, that the signature actually looks very similar to George R. R. Martin in terms of they both have very slanted, very long signatures, and it is kind of fitting. George R. R. Martin worked a lot and edited various volumes with Gardner Dozois during Dozois' lifetime, and Jack Dann actually co-edited, I think it was over 30 volumes with Gardner Dozois. A lot of, I think they were the Magic Tales, had a lot of exclamationary titles like unicorns, demons, robots, pirates, all sorts of things. So it's actually kind of fitting that Dan's signature does look very similar to George R. R. Martin's signature. But hey, that's just my 2 cents about it. Anyways, thank you very much, Jared, for another wonderful volume. An excellent job with bubble wrap, as always. Very much looking forward to what we get next. I do have a copy of Powers of Darkness, the early Dracula, or Dracula fan fiction, depending on how you read it. Who knows? That's coming soon. It's a signed copy. Not signed by Bram Stoker, because that would be crazy. But it's signed by a bunch of artists. So please consider liking and subscribing, and you can watch that unboxing when it occurs. And we got some more unboxings around the corner as well, so please watch out for that. Check out Centipede Press. Check out Jack Dann. Check out the works of works edited by John Palin. John Palin's got Jared from Centipede Press is the oh my god, not the executor, because he's not really the executor, but I guess not of his will, but the executor of Palin's book collection. So if you actually go to the Scratch and Dent page, you can actually buy a bunch of John's personal books, many of which are signed, not necessarily by Palin, but they could be signed and dedicated to him. If it's edited, maybe it's signed by him, but those are available on the site as well. Anyways, thank you very much for watching, and we will see you around next time.